This is the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast, and I'm your host, Trudy Simmons from the Daisy Chain Group, providing platforms for women entrepreneurs to be seen and heard. This platform is for women entrepreneurs that want to hear the real stories of what it takes to be yourself and run a business with all the different hats that you might have to wear. These are the stories of the tenacious, the rebellious, and the resilient women that are working towards the future that they want to build for themselves and their families. Hello and welcome to the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast. And this is the brilliant Lisa Erricker from Charmbound. Lisa is involved in Shine You Crazy Daisy book 2, which is very exciting. Lisa, thank you so much. Please tell us about your business.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be in book 2. So yes, I run Charmbound, which is basically me making lots of different charm jewellery, mainly charm bracelets, but charm earrings, necklaces, stitch markers, whatever you can think of. So yeah, it's a charm jewellery business that I've been running for quite a few years now.
You have. You talk in the book about finding a busy that was less dangerous to your health. What had happened to lead you to know that this was an important change that needed to happen?
So, I mean, I've always been a really busy person, I think, as most of us are, I think, in the business world. But I'm still a teacher as well. So teaching was my full-time job. I'm now part-time teaching. But I was teaching, I had, hobbies that I was trying to fit in around teaching life as well. And so it wasn't that long before, I've been teaching a few years, and I just seen so many colleagues in the teaching world really struggle with their mental health. And it really hit home when my husband, actually, he was a full-time teacher as well, took a year out of teaching to focus on his mental health. And having seen so many colleagues that had really suffered and then seeing it at home as well, it was when he took his year out that I started to think, okay, maybe full-time teaching just isn't that sustainable. And I know it's not just teaching. I know there are so many other professions out there as well where people struggle. But the amount of sort of energy that we're spending every single day in the classroom and then catching up on everything in your evenings and weekends at home. The holidays are brilliant, don't get me wrong, they are fantastic. But you do start to get to a point where you question, is it worth it? Because the holidays are great, but term time, the overwhelm and the anxiety become very real. And so when he took his year out, I mean, I'm so grateful that he was able to take a year out and really focus and recover. And he's gone back to teaching part-time. And that really seemed to be the answer to begin with, was, okay, this might not be sustainable full-time, but is it sustainable part-time? And I had to kind of step up for a couple of years and carry on working full-time financially to make it work for us, and look at other ways perhaps of bringing in an income. And that was when it really started. We really started thinking, okay, if full-time teaching isn't what we're going to carry on doing necessarily forever, then what else is out there and what else can we do? And then really for me, it was a couple of years after he'd gone back part-time, I came home one day, really close to the Easter holidays. I can pinpoint it. I can really remember I came into the hallway and I was just exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. He could tell. And I said, you know what, I've got a holiday coming up in a week's time, but I don't know how I get through the next week. I just can't see to the end of next week. And he said, okay. He said, you've let me take some time for me to make sure that I was okay and that I could go back to work in a way that wasn't meaning that one of us was going to have a breakdown eventually. He said, you now need to do that for you. And we had to talk about what that looked like. I said, well, how can we both go part-time? How does a young working couple in their 20s and 30s both go part-time? And we had a mortgage and whatever else we wanted to do. So yeah, that's when we had to start thinking, okay, a change is necessary. We're busy people and we like to be busy, but let's think about being busy in a way that's more flexible, in a way that actually works for us, and doesn't end up with one of us having a meltdown, or both of us.
I think it really is at those points that you realize that your mental health, your health, is more important than anything. Because it was, especially for you as teachers, being there for all of these kids, being there and present and taking on everything from them, you've got to be at your best, as it were, and that's an incredibly important thing.
It is, and there's still a huge part of me. I still love teaching. I love the classes that I still have, But at the same time, when you're waking up and you're not sure that you actually want to go in and face the children because you're not sure that you've got the energy to be able to keep going, that told me that something wasn't right, and therefore we needed to build in that bit of flexibility.
So after all of that, and you've now decided you're going to do part-time teaching for both of you, and you know that you have this side hobby that you're doing, what made you think about or believe that you could switch from it being a hobby business to a business?
So again, I can pinpoint when that happened. And it was you, Trudy, because you gave me a phone call one day. One day my phone rang from out of the blue. And I think Sam answered it, actually. I think Sam answered the phone and said, oh, there's a lady that wants to talk to you from the Hampshire Women's Business Group. And I was like, what? Where has that come from? So, and you were just so encouraging on the phone. And it was more the fact that, you wanted to find out about me, about my business, about what I was doing, to also tell me to put my prices up because I was underselling myself, which I think was your point number one. And it was having a conversation with somebody who wasn't like family or friends. And I'm really lucky that I've got hugely supportive family and friends with what I do. But having that conversation with someone else who I didn't really know, that had seen what I did and thought, that works, that works. You have actually got something that you can do. And that sort of made me believe, okay, maybe this is more than just a hobby. I'm not just a teacher and I do this as a bit of a hobby. If someone else is looking at this from the business world and seeing something in it, then maybe I can run with it. So thank you.
Well, honestly, when I read it in the chapter, I don't remember making that call, but what you've just said, I remember exactly now. And in my last corporate job, I was called Chief Interferer. I don't know where I got it from. That wonderful title. And I do pick up the phone if I see things, and you put something in our Facebook community and the price on it, I could not see how you were making any money on that, and not just you making money, but how you were valuing what you were putting into it. And when I see things, I can't help myself. I have to pick up the phone. So.
And it was the mentality. It was because I was looking at it through the mentality of this is my hobby and it's just what I do. It pays for itself. And I wasn't looking at it with a business mentality. And so I was able to change that after that.
So now that you've changed that, it's now supporting and supplementing your teaching, or is it the other way around?
So at the moment, it's still supporting and supplementing the teaching. And I do like the flexibility of it in that when other things have happened, so recently moved house and that sort of thing as well. So that meant that I haven't actually been able to take a break from it if I needed to. And if I just needed to do my job and pay the bills, and I could put business to one side for a moment. But now things are more settled again. I am now looking at making a switch and making it flip, and hopefully that the business will become the number one, and other things will be the sideline.
This is what I love, and why I love doing these interviews, and why I appreciate so much being able to get these stories out in front of other people. Because if you at the beginning say, I'm from Charm Bands, I make charm bracelets, people go, oh, that's nice. But you've got a big business. You have a lot of customers. You have a big customer base that love everything that you do, and they are repeat buyers. You've done amazingly in what you've done so far.
Thank you. And and it's been slow progress. And I said it's been ups and downs, because sometimes I've put it away for a few months when there's been things going on, and I've picked back up again. But it has grown slowly over time, and it is now to a point where I'm thinking, okay, this could be taking over now as the number one thing, which is lovely, and not somewhere where I thought I would be.
I love it. I love it. What I also love about your chapter is you've made this massive life change for, I would think, for your health, for your future, to be able to do what you want to be able to do. And you've now bought a farm with animals. How does that move make your dreams bigger? And what are you wanting for the future?
It is actually, it's been a complete game changer, because I don't actually deal very well with change. And again, that's why my business is growing really slowly, because I've always had my teaching job, and then it's just been something I do on the side, and I grow it slowly. I'm not very good at just sort of going full in for things. But we had no choice with the farm. We saw it, the opportunity was there. It was something that we'd always talked about, and an opportunity came up far sooner than we thought it would. And so Sam and I talked about it. We said it was the right time for both of us. So let's go get stuck in. Even if it was a little bit earlier than we thought, let's make the most of it. Before we're retired, let's see what we can do whilst we're young enough to enjoy it. And that has been a huge game changer for me. And actually, now that I've made that one big change, I can start visualizing other changes, and I can start to say, okay, so if I can do that and I can cope with moving out of my local area and moving to the countryside and taking on a small holding where I don't really have a lot of knowledge, but I'm learning really fast. Okay, I can do that. And if I can do that, then actually I can make a go of it. And maybe, my dreams are huge now. My dreams eventually are to, one day I will leave teaching and I'll be teaching in other ways, because I'm, maybe even teaching people about how to run a small holding once I've got the hang of it myself. I've got dreams of pigs and goats. We've started with chickens at the moment. We've got enough of those for now. But yeah, so the dreams have changed, and I'm okay with that, which is an unusual and a nice place to be for me.
Yeah, I love your story, I really do. If you had one lesson that you would want other entrepreneurs to know, what would it be?
It is definitely, I think for me, and it's taken me a long time to learn it, but it is, be okay if you need to change things. If you've got something you're already interested in, just because you've always identified yourself as being one thing, don't worry about changing and trying something new. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't matter. Try something else. But I think we're really good at pigeonholing ourselves into particular boxes and saying, this is me, this is what I do. It was actually introducing myself at the beginning of this as the owner of Charmbound was really unusual, because I always introduce myself as a teacher. And so learning that actually you don't have to just identify as one thing. You can change direction, you can try new things. And that's okay. And people won't think less of you for doing that either. I think it was always a bit of a worry for me that, well, if I'm known for doing this, what will people think if I do something totally different? I'm not an expert at that, but I think people do respect you more than you think they do, just for trying and learning.
Change and grow. What's your favorite business book?
So I, a few years ago, I was introduced by a friend to the James Smith podcast, and he has a book that he's now written as well, the Not a Diet book, and he's followed that up with Not a Life Coach book. He's a personal trainer, so a lot of his work was focused on fitness to begin with. But what I like about him, and where I think it applies to business, is he's really keen on cutting through all of the rubbish and saying, okay, let's get back to basics, look at what's working for you. If it's not working for you, change it, and focus on the really small things. He's a big believer in, be consistent with doing the small things well, and the big things will come. And I just like that as that little reminder every so often to go back and listen to, or to read, pick up a chapter and say, okay, just a reminder, take it back to basics, do the small things right, the big things will happen.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Lisa, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today and for being in the Shine You Crazy Daisy book 2. Thank you, love.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be involved, and I can't wait to read everyone else's stories either.
Thank you so much for watching the Shine On You Crazy Daisy podcast. If you've liked what you've seen today, then please make sure that you click the subscribe button to this channel to see more inspiration and motivation as more of these stories keep coming out. And if you want even more, click on the link below this video and go and have a look at the series of books Shine On You Crazy Daisy, and get even more inspiration and motivation for you and your business.